Okay, let's unpack this. We've got these sources on the origins of the U.S. Constitution. Time for a deep dive.
Yeah, this period right after the Revolution, moving from the Articles of Confederation to the Constitution itself, it's foundational.
Absolutely crucial stuff, especially, if you're prepping for an exam on this. We want to pull out the key ideas, the vocabulary you need.
Exactly. What really pushed them to change things? That's what we're looking at.
So, the Articles of Confederation, it was the first shot, right? But sounds like it wasn't quite hitting the mark.
Not really, no. The sources are pretty clear major weaknesses. The central government didn't have much power.
By design, wasn't it? They were wary of strong central power after the king.
Very much so. But it meant getting states to, actually do things. Congress asked for money, troops. It was tough. More like separate countries agreeing sometimes.
And then things like Shays' Rebellion really brought that home.
Oh, definitely. That whole situation in Massachusetts, farmers protesting debts and taxes,
Yeah.
it showed the government couldn't really maintain order or handle economic problems effectively.
And it wasn't just about a weak national government, right?
Mm.
Some leaders were looking at the states themselves.
You got it. People like James Madison, they were worried. They saw state legislatures maybe bending too much to popular will.
Like helping out debtors too easily?
Precisely. Interfering with contracts, property rights. Madison talked about needing a steady dispensation of justice, which often meant making sure creditors got paid. Economic stability was a huge concern.
Wow. So it's not just high-minded ideals about government structure. There are real economic anxieties driving this push for a new system.
Very real. Those anxieties, plus the clear weaknesses of the Articles, that's what leads them to Philadelphia in 1787, the Constitutional Convention.
Right, the convention. And the big flashpoint seems to be representation. How states would be represented in this new government.
Huge debate. You had the large states pushing the Virginia Plan. Their idea was representation based on population. Simple enough. More people, more power in Congress.
Makes sense for them, but the smaller states must have pushed back hard.
They did. They came back with the New Jersey Plan. Basically, keep it like the Articles, equal votes for every state, big or small.
So, deadlock. How did they fix that?
The Great Compromise, sometimes called the Connecticut Compromise. It's how we ended up with a bicameral legislature.
Bicameral meaning two houses, right?
Exactly. The House of Representatives based on population that satisfied the large states, and the Senate, with 2 senators per state, equal representation that protected the small states.
A classic compromise. But there were other really tough issues too, like slavery and representation.
Yes, incredibly difficult. How to count enslaved people for taxes and for representation in the House led to the 3/5 clause. These weren't easy conversations. They showed deep divisions.
So they finally hammer out this constitution. But it's not law yet.
Nope. Now it needs ratification. Approval from the states. At least 9 out of 13 had to say yes.
And that kicks off another huge debate, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The Federalists versus the Anti-Federalists.
Right. The Federalists, they're for the Constitution. They want that stronger national government. Think Hamilton, Madison, Jay.
And the Anti-Federalists.
They're worried. They see this powerful new government and fear it'll crush states' rights and individual liberties.
To make their case, the Federalists wrote those famous essays.
The Federalist Papers, yeah, aimed especially at convincing New York. They argued the Constitution actually limited government power through clever design.
Things like federalism.
Right, dividing power between the national government and the states.
And separation of powers.
Splitting national power, Congress makes laws, president enforces, courts interpret.
And checks and balances.
Exactly. Each branch can limit the others. Like the president can veto laws, but Congress can override the veto. They argued this structure prevented tyranny.
But the Anti-Federalists had a really strong point that stuck, didn't they?
They sure did. Where's the list of rights? The original Constitution didn't have a Bill of Rights.
And that pressure worked. It's why we got the first 10 amendments soon after ratification.
Absolutely. The Bill of Rights, added in 1791, that's where you find those core freedoms we talk about all the time.
Like the First Amendment, religion, speech, press, assembly.
The Second Amendment on the right to bear arms. The Fourth against unreasonable searches.
Rights for accused people in the Fifth. Protection from cruel punishment in the Eighth. It was a crucial addition to get broader buy-in.
No question. And then, to launch this new government, you needed a leader everyone trusted.
George Washington, unanimously elected first president. That must have helped smooth things over.
Immensely. He brought legitimacy and stability when it was desperately needed.
So when you're studying this period, it's not just about dates and terms like bicameral. It's about these deep fights Power, representation, money rights.
Exactly. Understanding those tensions is key.
Think about that contrast we mentioned. The push to protect property and maybe limit excess democracy versus the demand for individual liberties in the Bill of Rights. How do we still see echoes of those debates about order, economy, and freedom playing out today? Something to keep thinking about as you review.